Welcome back to Blam Blam Truckers. I'm Beas, that's Buse, and we're here today to talk to you about why we love the Transformers. Yes, that's right, the robots that are more than meets the eyes, they're robots in disguise. I've been a Transformers fan since 1984, when the first series came out in comic form and on TV. I even have with me here today a 1995 copy of the original Transformers movie.
Nice.
This copy was only sold in Canada. I have no idea off the top of my head how I happened to get this copy. I'm sure someone gave it to me. Because I haven't been to Canada, well, since before 1984. Which is impressive because I wasn't born long before 1984. I love Transformers. I played with Transformers growing up. I don't have any of my original toys in the room right now that I know of with me, though they are here somewhere in the junk room. What I do have is my masterpiece, Optimus Prime. This is not, I believe this is a second issue of it. I bought it at this place called Walmart. You may have heard of it. But I got this many, many years ago. This is older than my niece. Well, all three of my nieces and nephews or four. How many do I have? I don't know. I also have one of the Jetfires or Skyfires that came out over the years. This is one of my favorites. It has the color changing symbol on it. It is not an original G1, but it does transform pretty well. I'm not going to do that for you here on air. And not only does it look like Jetfire, it also looks like Jetfire, which is a pretty neat thing. He even has the glowy thing on the back of his head. You can just barely see how his eyes are glowing. It's because on the back of the head, if you can see it there,
It's got the clear plastic.
it's got the clear plastic and blue, so it'll go through, and his eyes will glow. Yeah, so that's what I brought. What'd you bring, Buse?
Well, you see, you started with the original Transformers series. I couldn't really get that channel unless my brother stood on top of a stool with a screwdriver, a piece of aluminum foil, and held it just right.
Yes, in the days before cable, if you remember cable.
However, later on, shown on TV channels we could get, I got the sequel or prequel, kind of a bit of both, to
The next
Transformers,
series.
which was Beast Wars. So I've got this guy here. This was Silverbolt, if I remember correctly.
Silverbolt was an aerial bot from G1, but he was also a flyer. That's Silverbolt.
Yep. But I had
An eagle or a
Silverbolt.
falcon or something.
He's like a wolf combined with an eagle. Weird. But I have him. I've got
Was he a triple changer?
Not yet. I've got Transmetal and Transmetal 2 Cheetors. Ooh. I've got, I don't know if it's Transmetal 1 or Transmetal 2 Megatron. And I'm not transforming these right now. I do it way too often for my godson. And I've got one of the I think he lost a tail. Either Transmetal or Transmetal 2 Rat Trap. And then from the sequel, I have the two good guys turned bad because of mind wiping from Beast Machines. I've got Tankor, who was Rhinox. And
I've got a Rhinox here somewhere.
I forgot who this was, but I believe he was actually Silverbolt. I forgot what they called him.
Beast Machines?
Yeah. But he was Silverbolt mind wiped.
One of the things I love about Transformers is, even as a kid, I can see out the corner of my eye when I'm looking at the camera, you know? Even as a kid, even in the 80s, Transformers was able to do things and treat subjects more seriously than other shows because the only people that were getting killed or destroyed or dying, if you want to call it that, were robots who weren't alive the same way human beings were alive. It wasn't until Transformers the movie that any of the robots stayed permanently dead. And even then, some of them came back due to animation errors, and even Optimus Prime came back twice in season 3 because of fan outcry. As the studio execs and animators have said repeatedly, they had no idea what they were doing when they killed Optimus Prime in Transformers the movie. You seem to be getting a food delivery.
I am.
You lucky man. All right, so what that meant is that even back in G1 in the end 1984 Transformers, 1985, they could tackle subjects that other shows like G.I. Joe couldn't tackle.
Right.
And they didn't shy away. The stakes felt more real, and they were able to handle subject matter that a lot of other shows just didn't. It was, out of all the shows that are clearly aimed at children, and boy, was G1 Transformers aimed at children, it handled it more maturely. I don't want to use the term adult, that has different connotations to it, but there was a more mature aspect to it. The stakes felt higher than other shows. At one point in, I want to say it was season 1, it might have been at the beginning of season 2, Optimus Prime is destroyed, broken into various pieces, and built into different robots, including a crocodile robot that I think had one of his arms as one of its arms. You don't
I
remember
really.
this?
Nope. Like I said, go bots.
You really ought to watch it. Season 1, if you can get past the childishness of it, much like season 2 of Miraculous Ladybug, if you can get past the obvious childishness of it, there's some really good stories in there.
Fair enough.
If you can. Transformers created a lore back in the 80s, and the comic books always treated Transformers more maturely than the cartoons did. If you go back and read the Marvel run, all 80 issues of the Marvel run, it is a much more serious take on the Transformers than the cartoon was. We would not see a take that serious again until the first Michael Bay movie, which of course would be the last Michael Bay movie to actually treat the Transformers seriously.
They did the same with G.I. Joe in the Marvel comics as well, because I know I've read some of those. As an adult, I've read some of the run because I picked them up from some of the collection from a local store, and I'm like, wow, I wish that I had gotten. Funnily enough, they talked about some subjects that we talked about in the last episode.
Fair enough, if the episodes come out in order. But G.I. Joe, Transformers, the comic book, it treated this stuff more seriously in some ways than even the IDW run or the other company that did a run there. Sorry. Transformers are hitting a pop culture high, while pop culture right now is fairly low for genre films like these and genre topics like these. Transformers 1, the trailer just dropped 2 weeks ago, as of this filming, within the last month. And yeah, it's going to be the first animated movie since our good friend here from 1986, Transformers the movie.
Well, first animated movie for the theaters.
For the theaters, yes. If you want to include the Beast Hunters movie, all 65 minutes of it.
They called it a movie.
It was a very serious show. They were able to cover things, like I've said, that other shows couldn't, because you can take a Transformer apart. Things happen. Optimus Prime didn't always come back together the same way. The voice actors took their roles seriously. We said this when we talked about Ghostbusters 2016 and Ghostbusters. What was the next one they made after that?
Afterlife.
Thank you. I haven't seen the new one, Frozen Empire, yet. But Ghostbusters Afterlife. What?
I was going to say, I keep wanting to call it Frozen Throne, but that's Warcraft. But go ahead.
Yes, I do too, actually. And then I want to call the Warcraft expansion Frozen Empire now. Anyway. Ghostbusters Afterlife took the subject matter seriously. If you're going to do a Ghostbuster story and you want it to be successful with your current fans, you need to treat the subject matter as if it's real. You go back and watch the original Ghostbusters movies, which I happen to have right here. They treat that subject matter as if those ghosts are real, as if these people are being spooked. And while they do have comedic actors in the roles, which bring an element of hilarity to the movies, they actually treat the ghosts as if they are a real viable threat that need a real viable response. And that's something you need in a good children's show like Transformers or G.I. Joe. More so in Transformers, we got that. Megatron was taking over the world. His actions had consequences, even back in G1. They weren't, again, it was a cartoon, so they, in the 80s, so they didn't always build off of things that happened in the past. At one point in G1, they brought Cybertron. They used a giant space bridge, and this was the plot of one of the Bayformer movies. They actually brought Cybertron into Earth's orbit, in the same solar orbit that Earth is in. So now to go to Cybertron, they only needed to fly there. They didn't need to use a space bridge, which is why you would see Starscream flying to Cybertron in later episodes, which was a neat bit of continuity I missed as a kid, but I picked up rewatching it as an adult.
I remembered seeing that, and I was confused as an adult because, again, I only saw a couple episodes of Transformers as a kid, and when I watched Beast Wars and Beast Machines, Cybertron was far away, and but I swear I saw episodes of them just flying there, and also during the Transformers movie, they just flew there as well, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, that continuity stayed all the way, again, into the movie. And I'm sitting here talking about G1. The next series to come out, if you don't count G2, was Beast Machines, Beast Wars. And that, again, the actors took that very, very seriously. With the actor playing Megatron overemphasizing his, yes, I am Megatron. Yes. Yes. Anyway, he was overacting. But that series took the characters very, very seriously, which is something that as a consumer I enjoy. I want my subject to be taken seriously. My favorite version of Transformers so far is, without a doubt, Transformers Prime. Most of the cartoon series in between Beast Wars and Transformers Prime, most of those were aimed at kids. Transformers Animated, obviously so, though I did enjoy it. I just didn't take it all that seriously. I did enjoy Transformers Animated, Transformers Energon, Transformers Robots in Disguise. I'm forgetting a few series. There's always another Transformers series coming out because they want to sell more toys.
Yeah, I remember seeing the toys in Walmart and not realizing until later, I'm like, oh, each of these series is from an actual TV series. It's not just a. Because I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'd seen the Star Wars Galactic Heroes line or whatever with the oversized heads and bodies and stuff like that, and then I saw a Transformers one like that. I'm like, oh, okay, they're just copying that. I'm like, oh, and I found out later, oh no, there's a TV series like that.
Yeah. So even modern Transformers, and we're hitting the 15-minute mark shortly, but even modern Transformers, they had the Netflix series that came out a few years ago. I think that was, what, War for Cybertron?
That was the game, wasn't it?
That was also the game, but that was that came out at the same time as Prime. But I want to
Okay.
say the name of the Netflix series was War for Cybertron. Yeah, the War for Cybertron trilogy. If anything, I think they took themselves too seriously, and there was very little. We use this term a lot. I don't know how much we've actually used it on the show, but on the channel. But agency. There's very little agency in War for Cybertron. There's very little hope in War for Cybertron. They start off with at the very end of the Cybertronian Civil War, and the Energon's all gone, and everyone's depressed, and how are they going to win? And the Decepticons always have the upper hand in the first series, and it was just, that's not what I'm looking for in a Transformers show. I want some agency. If that was the case, then there should still be a shot at winning. Everybody shouldn't be down and depressed the whole time. There should be hope. Transformers represent hope more than anything else. No matter what happens, they've got a response. No matter how bad it gets, they're ready to fire back and do something amazing. And I can get into all the individual bits and pieces. I really want to do something of a deep dive with Transformers Prime with Buse, but neither one of us was really ready for it this week.
I'll try to be ready for next week.
Well, or we'll do something else. But I loved Transformers Prime. Not only did they take it seriously, they got the whole Transformers doesn't need a human partner or human partners but it usually has it. And that tends to make the story not only more relatable, but impactful. And the human partners should have their own agency as well. They shouldn't just be utterly useless. And Transformers Prime really gets that right. I was thinking they were actually going to do a Headmaster story at one point when Silas took control of some of the various Transformers. I don't want to give any spoilers away for a 10-year-old, 15-year-old show.
But it's worth the watch, I'll be honest.
It really is.
So I hadn't watched anything since Beast Machines had ended because it all looked silly. But
it was silly.
When Transformers had,
I watched some of it. It was very silly.
So when you're right, because when War for Cybertron came out, or when it like when I found out it was coming out, because it came out roughly the same time, they talked about the game. Sorry, they talked about the Transformers Prime universe, and moving forward, the Transformers Prime universe would provide a
aligned continuity.
Right. So not everything was going to be the same as it was in Prime, but if you knew the basics from Prime, it would follow through to everything else. It was
the term they used was if you squint at it. It was squint continuity. If you looked at it with kind of like a squint, it all kind of looked the same. It was the same basic story. And this Megatron is a miner turned gladiator from around Kaon, and he rose up in a political movement. And not my personal favorite origin for Megatron. I prefer the G1 origin, but yeah. And they pulled that from, I don't remember which comic book company they pulled that from, DreamWorks or IDW or whatever. But that origin came from the comics. Go ahead.
Yeah. And the moment I started watching Prime, because I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. It was on, I had Comcast, and it was on demand, so I could watch it when I wanted to. And the moment I heard Ratchet's voice, Jeffrey Combs, I had to watch it.
There was Wayun from DS9.
Yeah. Wayun Brunt.
Brunt. FCA. He doesn't emphasize it, but it gets emphasized. He's just a brilliant actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he redefined Ratchet. Ratchet is now that guy from now on in almost any appearance. Bulkhead! I needed that!
And that was the thing. I was watching it, and originally I'm like, oh, they made Bulkhead and again, I didn't know much about the stuff from before because I didn't watch it. But I'm like, oh, they turned Bulkhead into like the big strong dummy. But at watching the show as it went on, I came to like Bulkhead because he wasn't just a big strong dummy. He had a lot of heart. He was kind of felt like he was kind of the heart of the team for the most part, more so than even Bumblebee was, at least for me. And I liked the girl that they paired him up with in that. And
Miko.
I enjoyed that show. I highly recommend it. And for you truckers out there with kids, it's a nice family watch.
Even though there is quite a bit of death in that show.
Yeah, but it's treated well.
Yeah, and The Rock is a guest star at the beginning of in the first episode. Just the first episode?
Maybe the second, but
yeah. It was just a cameo. He plays Cliff Jumper and gets killed by Starscream. Again, spoiler for a 10, 15-year-old show. 2009, I think. That's actually Bulkhead's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it can't be that long. I've been married for... I just had my 19th anniversary. It can't be that... Then you said 2009, and I'm like, well, 15 years ago it is.
Bulkhead, his first appearance in cartoons was Transformers Animated, which was the series that came out immediately before Prime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he could have been Hound. He could have been Ironhide. There's elements of different Transformers from G1 in Bulkhead, but Brawn. But he ended up being this amazing and wonderful character voiced by, I want to say, Michael Bell. Or was he? No.
No, Kevin Michael Richardson.
Oh, great actor. Amazing voice cast in Transformers Prime. It's the first time we get Optimus Prime and Frank Welker back since 1986-87, Season 3 of Transformers as Optimus and Megatron. They've been in other things together. And what Peter Cullen actually
Weren't
brings. What now?
weren't they in uh, one of the Transformers movies together before that?
Not before
One
that.
oh, okay.
In the original movie, they got Peter Cullen. In the first Bay film, they got Peter Cullen back as Prime, but they didn't go with Frank Welker for Megatron. They went
Gotcha.
with the guy from The Matrix and The Hobbit there. I think it's the smell. The Agent Smith from The Matrix.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
He has a name, and I'll probably
Hugo
think of it.
Weaving.
Thank you. Yes, they went with Hugo Weaving for Megatron, and he
For a
treated
guy
it
who
as
doesn't like to be typecast in geek stuff, he sure does a lot of it.
he had like 15 lines. He recorded it in, I want to say, less than a day. I could be wrong. It could have been 2 days. And he did not take it very seriously. That's with a caveat. He did his lines and he did them the way he felt an evil megalomaniac overlord would play them. And he gave it his all. But Michael Bay was very, very serious about this, which was good. He did one serious take on it. Hugo Weaving was like, dude, it's 15 lines. I gave you what you wanted. I don't know what else you want from me. I'm just here to do a part and make my money. What else do you want?
Right, because he
Eh,
wasn't even spoilers again, but for that old of a movie. But yeah, he wasn't even in most of the
2007.
movie. Yeah, he was
No,
like,
he gets
or
freed at the end of the film.
yeah,
He faces off against Optimus Prime. Don't get me wrong, Hugo Weaving did a great job. But and that's my favorite Transformers live action movie. Bumblebee is number two. But again, Bay took it all very seriously, and his take on Transformers was probably in 2007 was probably the most serious take on Transformers up to that point, except for the Marvel Comics run back in the 80s, and even that was not as serious as this. If you watched that Transformers movie as an adult, like we did, young adults, we were in our 2007, we were probably in our late 20s.
yep,
It came out and I went there as an adult. I'm expecting some campy fun. And I didn't get any campy fun. I got a movie about alien invasion and the ramifications thereof. There was some campy fun in there when they
of
go into
course.
the hacker's house and he's like, "What are you doing walking on my grandma's rug? Don't walk on my grandma's rug," or whatever he said there. "They're going in the pool, Grandma," and it was funny. There was a little bit of camp in there, but overall, they treated the subject matter seriously. The United States was responding to unexpected aggression. They took out a military base camp. It was a very serious alien invasion, which turned into a Transformers film. And I really, really like that. In fact, I'm doing the High King, who wrote the Transformers D6 unofficial RPG that I've been reading through here on the channel. He also enjoyed that. That's why he created it. So that movie brought back a lot of fans, and I really appreciate it. I thought they did a great job. Again, they got the human element in there, very realistic. The second film came out in the middle of the writer's strike, was in production in the middle of a writer's strike. And frankly, it suffered for it for the adult audience, but had very little impact on their bottom line. It did make less money than the first movie, but not enough to not stop them from making another. How many Transformers movies are there now? 6, 7, 15?
So the last one that they did in the Bayverse
Yeah.
was that the Beast Machine or whatever they called it, the last one that came out.
Okay. I didn't watch it.
Neither did I. But it's on Paramount Plus. I'll watch it eventually.
I'll probably get around to it myself. Anything else you want to add about why you love Transformers? Besides the fact that it treated the subject matter, even for kids, seriously and had very good stories.
So, like I said, I
Captures the
didn't watch
imagination.
I didn't watch Transformers as a kid. I watched GoBots. And I don't remember much about GoBots except for like the scooter guy. One of the things yes, I did like how they treated subject matter in Beast Wars and Beast Machines, but it made me feel, it's going to sound weird, but it made me feel somewhat adultish because of how they treated stuff. And this is going to sound really stupid to everybody out there, when I was a kid, I watched soap operas when I came home, and I probably shouldn't have. But my mom was working, and my dad worked nights, and he was sleeping, so I got to kind of get away with stuff. Mom, Dad, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Anyways, I watched a lot of soap operas, but when watching this, it kind of reminded me of the soap operas, but it was stuff I could actually understand as a kid. It was more simplified. Even like the romance arcs were simplified enough for a kid to get. And it made me feel like an adult, because I'm like, hey, this is like a storyline that I saw on One Life to Live. Just with robots that turn into animals. I know.
Fair enough.
It sounds silly, but
No,
you
they
asked,
did a good job.
I answered.
They did it. It stayed with us all these years.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we talked about this in a different episode, but it impacted us so much. We liked it so much that we still surround ourselves with the fond memories we have. We were happy to pay for, what did I pay for this guy? I think I got him for $50 on sale, down from 100. I'm pretty good at shopping sales. Well, I used to be. I don't really do a lot of sale shopping anymore.
I got these guys for free because my brother bought them, and he kept them and then gave them to me when he moved.
Anyway, yeah, we love this stuff. We'd love to be part of creating this stuff for a big franchise or whatever.
And with that segue,
leading into... How'd you like that segue, Buse? I actually have my DC notebook here with me. I filled this notebook with all the notes of what I would do with the DC universe. Anybody over at DC who DC movies, Warner Brothers, Time, Discovery, whatever you want to call yourselves these days, anybody who knows maybe David Zaslav, if you'd like to hear a movie pitch about the DC universe, I would love to start pitching for you. I have an entire notebook full of how the universe would work, which leads to universe ideas and movie ideas and story ideas of a continuity that I think people my age and people who take this stuff seriously would really enjoy. I could do the same thing for Transformers, but you guys can already see that on the channel where I've started posting one of the stories I wrote, the Cybertronian Misadventure.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Paramount, if you're looking to do Transformers 2, bring in Beas. I can speak from...
Beasley presents the Transformers. Beasley presents the DC Universe.
And I will be bluntly honest. No offense, Beas. I think that Beas would do... and I think Beas would do a bang-up job with anything, but I think his stories that he would have for Transformers would outdo even what he would have for DC.
Wow. I'll take that in the spirit it's intended, with no offense, and maybe even something of a compliment in there. And we'll bid you guys well. I barely speak English, let alone trying to go to another language. I was hoping for adieu, but adieu didn't come out of my mouth. We'll bid you guys adieu. It started to become au revoir, and it ended up being Adele. We'll bid you guys Adele. So Adele to all you truckers out there, thanks for listening that long. I hope you had a good time, and keep on trucking, you Blam Blam truckers.